Going on, everyone? Thrift Barringer here, Georgia, Alabama Sports Live. Man, it's been a long day, and I couldn't even get my microphone ready. But Thrift Barringer, Richard Holdridge, what a day! High school baseball media day. Just been a long but fun, eventful day. Thank you to CVCC and Richard. We couldn't go a night without doing the Georgia, Alabama Sports Live show. Glad to be here.
Glad to be here too, Thrift. There's a lot to talk about here on the show, and I'm looking forward to recapping what has happened the past couple of days.
You're right about that, Richard. As I'm really trying right now to get everything situated. I apologize to everyone. We literally just got out of our meeting to plan for February, and I'm rushing because we got a special guest coming up for tonight's show. But thank you to CVCC. We'll talk about that in just a moment. We were presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC, and we're also presented by Buffalo Rock Pepsi, Gordy Eye Care, and Kinetic Credit Union, Richard. But we were at CVCC today, had over 15 of the local high schools come and support the show, case their programs as we kind of kick off baseball season. And it was a lot of fun, Richard. I know you were glad to be a part of it. Thank you to Dean Taylor and Ashley Landy and everyone at CVCC for allowing us to be there. We kicked it off with the baseball program from CV with Hunter Vick, and then we had Coach Osteen of the softball program, and of course all the local high schools that were in attendance. And it was a great showing and a great opportunity.
It truly was, and we did this last year. And one thing that I love about high school baseball media days, with baseball just around the corner, you got teams that are starting to practice next week. You've got games in a couple of weeks. It was just a fantastic way to showcase these talented student athletes that just happen to play baseball. And it's very popular here in Columbus. I mean, we know it just from the success from the Little League teams, and of course with the minor league baseball team coming to Columbus. I'm just excited about it all.
Yeah, I am too, man. And we got a lot of great teams. Brookstone defending state champion, the GIAA, Calvary Gap, 6 straight state championships. Now they're in the GIAA. Glenwood, 10 state championships under Coach Fanning, 23 overall. They're heading to the AHSA. Central was ranked number 1 nationally last year, and Coach Keogh's won a state championship, been to 3 straight, lost the last 2. Though, so looking forward to them. We know about Columbus High and their rich history with Chad Mathis. Just a lot of great programs, and really baseball is top notch in this area, man. And the best thing about it is that all these teams get to face each other. Glenwood gets to take on a Northside or a Central, a Smith Station, a Russell County. Calvary gets to do the same thing. So then we get to see crosstown rivals and all get to play each other, and we're going to get it all on Georgia, Alabama Sports Live. I can't wait for it, Richard. I know you can't either. And it was a lot of fun to have the players there. They were able to speak about what their team goals and personal goals are. They got to talk about who their favorite players are. If you missed it, it was on the Georgia, Alabama Sports Live Facebook page. You can go back and look at that and watch it on there or on the YouTube channel. It will stay on there. You can go and find, and we're going to timestamp on YouTube when the certain teams went and were present. But a lot of fun. Thank you to everyone that made this possible. Thank you to all the sponsors, and just another great event. Richard, I said it on the air on the media day. I'm going to say it here. Thank you to you for helping put this on. And you're the brainchild behind it. And year 2 was just as good as year 1.
Yeah, and this year is very unique because not only all the public schools minus Northside in Columbus are in the same region, you also have Calvary in their first year in the GIAA. So you got that 3-team rival with Calvary, Pacelli, and Brookstone. And then for the first time ever, Auburn is going to end up facing all the local teams in the surrounding areas. Russell County, Central, and Smith Station are all going to face Auburn. I cannot wait for those matchups. I think that's what residents of the Phoenix City, Smith Station area has been waiting for years, and they finally get it.
Yeah, that is right. That is right, Richard, and we're excited about it. As we'll have baseball games coming up here in February the 10th. I think it's the first one, Columbus and Harris County. That will kick off our baseball coverage, and we have a ton more. Plus, we got region tournaments in basketball. We got tennis and soccer starting, softball. A lot happening, and trust me, this is for everyone that is out there, and I want to make mention of this. We are going to try to be at all these events as much as we can. We have 3 to 4 producers. So but these guys have full-time jobs. This is not their full-time job. So we're going to try to be there as much as we can, and we're going to give you as much coverage as we can. If we're not there, it is not because we're choosing not to be there. It's because we physically just can't do it. We don't have the means to do it, as we're only a year or two of our company, and we cover a lot of ground. So we're excited about year 3 for next year, but we're just trying to get through year 2, and we're going to get as many of these other sports outside of baseball as we can here in the springtime, Richard.
Yeah, there's no question about it. It's been a team effort with all of our on-air talent and producers. And spring is exciting because not only are we wrapping up the winter sports with the basketball winding down, but with baseball and introducing soccer and tennis and even golf. We've got so many sporting events that we want to cover here on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Blessed to be a part of it, and thank you so much just for the viewers and the people who have supported Georgia Alabama Sports Live that has made this possible.
Yeah, exactly right. All right, we got a special guest coming up, and we're about to have him on here in the next 2 minutes. He is the athletic director of Jordan High School. He's also the wrestling coach, and his girls came up just short of winning a state championship in the dual meets that happened this past week at the Lumpkin Center. So congratulations to Coach Scott. We're going to have him on. We're also going to drop our new basketball rankings. We're going to talk about the upcoming schedule that we have here today. So we got a great show in store for you. We won't talk River Dragons or Columbus State because, again, we have been literally talking since 1:30 today. So we're going to try to keep this as abbreviated as possible. But I thought that tonight we for sure had to have this guest on. So y'all don't go anywhere. We'll talk about the rankings and the schedule after this interview, but we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it is time to talk with Coach Russell Scott of the Jordan Lady Red Jackets and Jackets wrestling program and athletic department here on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this. Georgia Alabama Sports Live wants to say thank you to one of our presenting sponsors, Buffalo Rock, and their partnership with everything that we do. And without business like Buffalo Rock, we wouldn't be able to go cover softball, volleyball games, every type of high school sport you can think of, local college games, and professional. So thank you to those businesses that support us, and specifically Buffalo Rock. And next time you're watching a Georgia Alabama Sports Live broadcast after a nice long day, why not enjoy it with a nice, refreshing Sorry? The best lemon lime soda around. Thank you to Sorry and Buffalo Rock for our partnership on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Welcome back, everyone, to Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And I want to say thank you. You can throw that graphic up again, Richard, to Colin Scroggins, seeing CNAW, Chattahoochee News and Weather. That's what. Thank you to Colin Scroggins for being a partner of ours and allowing us to share all our stuff and being the exclusive provider, sports provider for CNAW and CNAW2 News. Follow Colin Scroggins on Facebook, and then again, go to CNAW2news.com. All right, let's go ahead and bring on the next guest. Richard, you know him very well. We have our Sitting Down with Athletic Director program we do every single year, and you always sit down with this guy. He is a guy that's given back so much to local athletes around here. Coach Jeff Battle speaks so highly of him and the program he has built at Jordan. He is the wrestling coach and athletic director of the Red Jackets. Coach Russell Scott. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
All right, Coach Scott, let's go ahead and get into it. You had the dual meet, you had the state meet, and these last couple weekends, a lot has happened here in Columbus at the Trade Convention and Trade Center and then the Lumpkin Center. Let's start there, and then we'll talk about your team as a whole for the growing the sport of wrestling and then the notoriety it brought here to the city. How do you think these last couple weekends have went in terms of that?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Jeff Battles for helping to bring some of these sporting events to Columbus. He plays a big role with being the liaison between, the local schools here and Georgia High School. And he petitions a lot for us to get these events to be held here in Columbus, Georgia. So, hats off to Jeff.
Richard?
Well, Coach, I know we've had conversations. I know that you've got a lot of hats, and not only the athletic director of Jordan, also the cross country coach and the wrestling coach. A lot of success on the wrestling mat. Jordan has really been known for success in wrestling. Just what did you tell your girls going into the state championship as far as the preparation for these dual matches, and just talk about just that journey of getting to this point for Pacelli or for Jordan Wrestling?
Yeah. Well, first of all, around Columbus area, it's hard to find dual matches with other teams that have a full team. So in order for us to build our dual record, we would have to travel across the state and sometimes crossing state lines. But that's going to cost money, which we all know. So I've entered my girls into a lot of individual tournaments. Okay, so going into going into the state ranked, we were thinking we would be higher than two, just based on what we did in individual tournaments. And in some of the individual tournaments, we actually beat which is now state champion. So that was a little disheartening to the girls, but hey, as long as number one and number two are away from each other on the bracket, then we can figure everything else out. Yeah. So just that constant getting them ready, despite whatever is, in front of us, to just kind of, steady the course and just get ready to do what we have to do when we make that trip to Delanago.
Well, Coach, we're excited about it. Again, great showing. Jeff Battles actually sent me the picture of your girls, who I know were a little bit disappointed not coming off as champions. But what can you say about your girls and the way they performed? And if you will, because we've had Coach Adrian Anderson, who is the Pacelli coach, on. We try to have many wrestling coaches. We're trying to build the sport up, and we've tried to get as many matches as we can here on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. What is dual meet? This is for the casual viewer that we have, listener. They don't understand when you say dual meet, team meet. Kind of explain what happened this weekend for your girls to get to that state runner-up.
Okay, so wrestling is one of the only sports to where you have two state championships. So when I say a dual meet, that means all 14 of my girls go against 14 girls, if they're filling all the weight classes, at another school. So that's your technically team against team. But you also have individual tournaments. And let's say, for instance, you don't have a full 14 weight classes team, but you have two or three girls. So that still gives them a chance to participate in wrestling against other girls because they're in an individual tournament. And that's the biggest difference right there. That's the biggest difference.
Okay. Thank you, Coach, for clarifying that. And why do you love wrestling, Coach? Why is this something that you gravitated towards, man? And you've now built one of the top programs we have, not only in our area, but in the state. You're recognized. You're well respected for those who follow the sport. Why is this something that's become a passion of yours, and you invested so much time and effort into these young men and women that have come through the program at Jordan?
Well, I started wrestling when I was in 10th grade, when I was at Hardaway High School.
Nice.
And when I was there, I had a coach, Coach Marion, which was a big influence. But before I even got to that point, I would train in different, martial arts. And I just started seeing how that combative sport, like a wrestling, a jiu-jitsu, your other combat sports, how they change the demeanor of a kid or of a person. You start to respect people a lot more, not based off the way they look, but just their abilities. The grind of wrestling, day in and day out, from the weightlifting to the time on the mat to the changing your diet, all of those things right there takes a lot of discipline. And with that being said, you can see from one year or from one season to the next how kids' mentalities change and how they view themselves. A good example is a lot of my boys at the beginning of wrestling season, they're lifting. Then when they start getting in shape, next thing you know, they're standing in front of the mirror, and then you start seeing their, the way they view themselves. Their spirit starts to,
Confidence.
That confidence starts to grow. And on the girls' side, I have a lot of girls that come out, and then, at the beginning, they might not be in good shape, but then before you know it, they're starting to lose weight. They're starting to tone up. And for a high school / middle school's age kid, your appearance is very important to them. Their appearance is very important. That goes along with the mental side of the mental health of the program also. And that's the other thing that we try to gear toward is getting the kids to like respect each other and have positive outlooks no matter how hard something might be. You can still overcome it no matter what your disability is or no matter what your struggles are.
Richard?
Coach, as somebody who wrestled in high school, I remember how rigorous those workouts were. They were brutal. I had
You don't
members of
forget
the
them.
football team that said it was just as bad as the football workouts. So typically what goes in a wrestling practice, and how does wrestling prepare your student athletes in life just to do other things, give them that confidence for them to succeed later in life?
Well, a lot of my kids, I tell them from the beginning, if you can handle wrestling practice for a whole season or for however long you wrestle during your high school years, there's not much that you cannot handle. That constant grind, I tell them, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And no matter what, there's always a way out. It might not be one of the routes you want to take, but in order to achieve your goal, then you might have to take that rocky road in order to, get to where you want to get to. But a typical day of wrestling practice, at my school is going to be, we're going to come in, everybody's going to have sweats on for the most part so that we cut a sweat. We start out with some calisthenics. We start out with probably about 20 minutes worth of calisthenics. From there, we go into skills, going over technique for about, 20 or 30 minutes. Then we'll have live wrestling from each of the positions, whether you're on top, whether you're bottom, or whether you're standing on your feet at neutral. And then every day I coach it like a class. The next day we go over exactly what we taught the previous day, and then we add on to that. And then we just continue that cycle until, the season's over with.
That's awesome, Coach. And we are talking with Russell Scott, the wrestling coach and AD at Jordan High School. Coach, you always dress very sharp. Just want to let you know that every time I see you, you're about as sharp dressed a guy I've ever met. And I'm trying to get like you, Coach, as I get older, for sure on that.
No, you're already there, brother. You're already there.
I appreciate it, Coach Scott, but dress to impress. Your mentality, as you made mention, building confidence, instilling this with young men and women, especially in these crucial years of high school. Is this why you got into coaching, why you got into Young Lives? Yes, you want to win, and you got a program that does win. Just came state runner-up with the girls. The boys have been fantastic, but I think it's more about developing young men and women for life. That is the reason this was your calling, isn't it, Coach?
And you are right. You're definitely right. My mother and my father, I was blessed to have both of them in the household with me growing up. My mother was a school teacher. My father was a retired military officer. After that, he ran the diversion center out on Chautauqua Road. So, a lot of discipline was instilled in me. And I see a lot of the kids that I come across on a daily basis, they don't have that luxury. So, in my eyes, I feel like that's my job to pick up where somebody else left off. So it's important. And you mentioned, how we dress, but the thing of it is that our kids at Jordan, they see the sagging pants and they see all that. I want to show them that, you can have on a nice suit and still be cool even when you're dressed up. You don't have to fall into the fad because, at our school, this is different, but different is still can be cool, and once they buy into that and they see, because once they get in the real world and we're talking business, whether it's the military, whether it's, private business, whatever the case may be, I mean, you're going to be judged by, your appearance, and from there, then you have to impress people with your skill and whatever you do or knowing your knowledge of your job.
Coach Scott, just talk a little bit about some of the top wrestlers on the girls' side and in the boys' side.
Yeah, who had great performances in the dual meet, Coach?
In the dual meet, I have a lot of girls. Aaliyah Rome, she's my 120, and she's pretty much been with me since day one. Ari Battle, Barbie, we have, oh my goodness, they all had spectacular matches. We went through 3 teams. We had Lafayette, Our next opponent was Gilmer, and then obviously in the finals we had Lumpkin. Um, we have a lot of new girls that joined, and we had one young lady at the state meet. She won her first match at the state meet, and that was
Wow.
big. That was big because you expect them to win their first match maybe at something local, but when you start talking at the state meet where the level of competition is much higher, and she gets a win, gets a pin, that was pretty good. Snow, she did a good job. So I got tons of girls that add to the intensity of the program. Beatrice, Morris, all of those young ladies. And a lot of those young ladies, they were with me 2 years ago when we were state runner-up, the first time that they ever had the state duels. So, they were a little edgy about, wanting to win, this state title, because this is not the first time that they've been state runner-up. This is actually the second time they've been state runner-up.
That's awesome, Coach. And we are really proud of you and your program, proud of your girls and their performance and showcasing the talent, especially wrestling talent we have in our area. Coach, talk about the sport of wrestling. Why is it so unique? We got a bunch of great programs in our area, and kind of this is for our viewing audience out there that have never been to a wrestling match. Why is it something that everyone needs to experience, and it's really cool to be a part of?
Well, I mean, here in Columbus, we have the luxury of having a lot of surrounding schools in town and out of town that we can have competition with. Sometimes when you go to those other, one high school counties, they have to do a lot of traveling, and we have the luxury of not having to travel so much and can still have all by city tournaments, regular Thursday night matches with, quad matches, meaning, 4 teams, or tri matches. So, that's important right there in order to gain your kids experience on the mat. But if you've never been to a wrestling match before, it's one of my coaches told me when I was in high school, a wrestling match is nothing but a controlled fight. And I started understanding that at a very young age, because if you can control and manipulate the situation, on a wrestling mat, then that transfers over a lot to, real life.
Yeah.
But when he made that statement that a wrestling match is nothing but a controlled fight, he hit the nail on the head, But it's addictive. You have parents. My mother, she would never come to one of my wrestling matches because she couldn't take it. She couldn't take somebody bending her or twisting her son up on the mat and trying to slam him and all this and that. But my father, he loved it. He enjoyed it. And, and since then, because that was back in the 80s, now that we have girls wrestling, you start seeing that same type of mentality that is needed for these young men and women to become leaders in the future, whether on the job or, in college. So, wrestling is very beneficial all the way around for boys and girls.
We're talking with Coach Russell Scott, the wrestling coach and athletic director of the Jordan Red Jackets. All right, Coach, what's left for the rest of the season? Is there any other meets? Is it done? Kind of update us on what's happening for the boys and girls for the rest of the season with wrestling.
All right, so now that we've just had our girls' state duels, last weekend we had the boys' state duels. So everything as far as team is pretty much over. Your duels are over now. Now we enter into individual tournaments. So coming up next week is going to be your area individual. Okay. After that, you have to qualify top 4 in each particular weight class. You make it past the top 4, then you go to the sectionals, which will be the following weekend. And then if you make it past the sectionals, then you advance to the state meet, which will be held in Macon, Georgia at the Cineplex.
Awesome. Well, Coach, we're going to be cheering you on for sure. Richard?
I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate it.
Coach Scott, why is Jordan a great place to go to school? Obviously, a huge alumni fan base that talks about Jordan and that tradition and history, but there's just a lot of pride in Jordan athletics. Just talk about why Jordan is such a great place to attend school and to compete at the athletic level.
2 things. One, we're probably one of the few high schools that is still located like in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
And because as old as I am, I'm teaching kids in which I taught their mothers and their fathers. So, there's that right there is enough for that camaraderie. When a kid comes the first day of school and said, "Is your name Coach Scott?" And I say, "Yes." And it's like, "You taught my mom. Do you remember so-and-so? She used to run track for you." Or, "You taught my dad. He used to wrestle." And over the years, I've taught, mothers and fathers. Then I end up getting their siblings, the kids that I have now. "You taught my older brother. He wrestled for you. He ran track for you." So I think that's where a lot of that built-in pride comes from, because a lot of the Jordan kids, their whole family went to Jordan. Their whole family went to Jordan. And that's I think that's where it starts. That's where it starts.
Well, Coach, you got some great alumni that come from Jordan. Tim Fanning, who's about to be a Hall of Famer. He graduated from there. Rick Beach, who is a part of us. He loves you. He literally just said, "Love you, Coach Scott." That's Rick Beach. Literally, my granddad coached there, Larry Bush, for a few years. Yep, that was my Uncle Philip, my mom, my aunts. I know because my grandparents still live right around the corner by Johnson Elementary and Jordan High School. I know all about the Red Jackets, Coach.
I live across the street from Jordan.
Well, Coach, I probably met you or seen you around for sure, man. But, Coach, thank you so much. I look forward to hearing and having you on, again, the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. And then tomorrow morning on the Sports Vision Morning Show, we're going to have you on again with me and DJ Jones from 6 to 9 a.m. at 8:30 on Sports Vision 92.1 FM. So I'll be talking to you in the morning, Coach.
Sounds awesome, man. I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate you guys having me on tonight.
That is Coach Russell Scott of the Jordan Red Jackets. We'll take a break. We got high school basketball rankings and what we got coming up the rest of the week on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show. You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, my name is Griff Gordy, and here at Gordy Eye Care, we have been serving the Bi-City community for 17 years. As a former state championship quarterback, I love the fact that I can watch local high school athletics from the comfort of my own home. So it was a no-brainer to support Georgia Alabama Sports Live and what they do for young athletes in our area.
And without business like yourself, Gordy Eye Care, none of our coverage would be possible to be able to cover the 16 different high schools, the local colleges, and professional teams. So we'd like to say thank you to you, Dr. Griff Gordy and Gordy Eye Care, for your support of Georgia Alabama Sports Live. And then you can make an appointment today at Gordy Eye Care with the number 334-291-5125. Keep supporting Gordy Eye Care and keep watching Georgia Alabama Sports Live. We're back here to Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I want to say this again. Richard Holdridge is an MVP, man. He's always available, always coming through. Richard, I appreciate you. Appreciate today, Baseball Media Day. Looking forward. We got a busy month of February between the GIAA, Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and everything else that we got going on outside of sports. It's just constantly working, but we love what we do. It is not really work. I enjoyed every second of it today. I enjoyed having me, you, Toygar, and Chris all hanging out again, but I appreciate everyone a part of Georgia Alabama Sports Live. But Richard, you are an MVP. I want to make sure everyone knows that. And he's an MVP because just like that, in 2.3 seconds, he's already got the rankings ready for you. And I know that's why everybody's tuning in right now. They love our weekly rankings, Richard. It ruffles some feathers, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, these rankings. You're talking about like once the games
feathers,
play. What?
They're going to ruffle some feathers now.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you have Team A that beats Team B and Team C ends up beating Team A, but Team B ends up beating Team C. What do you do?
What do you do? And that's what we flip a coin. That's what we did here. No, I'm serious. We tried our best. All right, let's bring it up. Let's see it. It's the girls' rankings here on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Okay, number 10, not much of a shakeup here, but number 10 is the Columbus Blue Devils. They got beat by a good Hardaway team. They played this past Saturday. I mean, Hardaway's, we'll tell you, they moved to number 1. I'll get into that in just a moment. But they come in at number 10. I like what Coach LaShonda Adams has, and they still have a chance to make the playoffs, Richard. They're going to have to finish out strong, but they still can make those power rankings. Tied for ninth are the Spencer Greenways and the Smith Station Lady Panthers. The Lady Greenways and the Lady Panthers, both those teams also vying for playoff spots. Spencer's got a little bit easier of a track because Smith Station plays in such a tough region. But the Lady Greenways and the Lady Smith Panthers coming at number 9. And number 8 is Northside. They're having a tough time since getting into region play. They are still looking like they're going to make the playoffs are the Lady Patriots. They play Harris County not once but twice this week, Richard. They play them tomorrow, which we will unfortunately will not be there for that, but we will be there for the one at County on Saturday. So Northside 8, Spencer, Smith Station tied for 9th, and Columbus 10th, Richard.
Yeah, so far the rankings look pretty good. Northside's got a good record. That's why they're where they are. Spencer and Smith Station, I agree with them being tied. I think that Smith Station, because of the talent they have on that team, they're always going to be in the rankings regardless of their record because of the area they play in. They play a tough schedule. They got to play Central, Auburn, and Opelika. And then as far as Columbus, you know that Coach LaShawn Adams is going to get them to continue to improve every game. They still got everything in front of them. They still got to play Shaw on Saturday. They got to play Sumter County tomorrow. You know, there's some high school teams that are playing 3-4 games next week because they had a long layoff when it came to the snow and the cancellation pretty much all week. So I tell you what, I mean, it's coming down to the stretch.
Yeah, Richard, I want to throw this PSA out there. And they did play Monday's Mill on Saturday, or I think that was actually Friday got rescheduled because it was Friday. All Friday games got rescheduled. So they don't have that up there yet. But for everyone out there, this is for all media. Please update your Max Preps, please, because we're trying to promote your programs. And if you don't have an update in there, we don't know if you won or lost. How are we supposed to promote your program? And then when we put what we have and the information we do have at Max Preps, instead of having to reach out to every single coach from every single school, which is a lot, we refer to Max Preps. If that is what we use and it's not up to date, then we get called out. I'm talking about the media for not having the right information. We only have the information that was given to us or on Max Preps. So please utilize that resource so we can utilize it too to put that out there. Please, a lot of coaches do a great job at it. Some of them have a tougher time putting updated scores. If you can put it up there, we'll make sure to promote your programs. But they have a big week this week. They got Harris County, Russell County, Central, and then Harris County. Big week for them. They're 2-4 are the Lady Patriots in the region. They're 5th. So they're going to need a win, and they're going to need to move up in the standings because Harris County is number 1, tied with Stars Mill, Griffin number 2, and then Central of Carrollton is number 4. Oh, I see 3, and then they're 4. Number 7, Russell County. I don't know if they're going to make the region, win the region this year, but the talent is there for Coach Ricky Jones, excuse me. And I'm really excited about Mackenzie Word. I mean, this girl is absolutely phenomenal, Richard. I mean, what can you say about how good of a player she has been this year? They're 11-10, 2-2 in their region. They had to play Pike Road. We did not get an update on if they won or lost that game from this past Saturday. If they were able to win that, they may have moved up in the rankings because they are right now tied with Pike Road for second. If they won that, they will be in second place and look like a team that could make the playoffs this year, and they would be 12-10. But Mackenzie Word, and they got a bunch of sophomores. Coach Jones has got a team. They're building for the future. This is where the shakeup happens because Carver comes in at number 6. Carver's going to make the playoffs this year. That's not the question, Richard. The question is, how competitive are they going to be within their classification? And I just feel like Glenwood being undefeated on over a 10-game winning streak, they're about to win their region again. I had to move them up. They had to be given credit. Now, head-to-head, I would take Carver over Glenwood if they face soft. But that is not how we do our rankings. We do our rankings, our chance to win in your league. Glenwood's ranked in the top 10 in the 3A classification. They're number 1 in their region. They're undefeated in their region. They're on an 11-game winning streak. They got to get credit for winning games, Richard. They're coming at number 5. Coach Purdue, man, what can I say about this guy? Comes in, loses his star point guard at Haley Palmore at the first game of the season, and has his team vying for a region championship once again. So 5 Glenwood, 6 Carver, and Coach Huntley's team. They're ranked. They're the number 3 team behind Sumter County in the region.
Yeah, Carver looks like they could control their own destiny. They got Sumter County and Americus coming up. They still get to play Hardaway. They can play Spencer. They took care of business against Shaw. And right now, I think that Coach Anson Hunley is going to have that Carver team ready to go in the playoffs, trying to fight for second place. I think that that's pretty much at stake in that game against Sumter County. But as for Glenwood, they got a big one against Lee Scott. Lee Scott is out trying to get a win over Glenwood.
They want blood, Richard.
I was gonna go there, but it's gonna be up at Lee Scott, a hostile environment, and we know that Lee Scott's gonna give their shot at Glenwood. But I think that Glenwood, if they win out, they'll end up hosting the area tournament, and they'll end up hosting some home playoff games come playoff time. But I like where Glenwood is ranked ahead of Carver, and rightfully so, because their path to the championship is a little bit easier than Carver's.
Exactly right. And Richard, they are on an 11-game winning streak. They are 17 and 6, excuse me, overall, and they are playing great basketball. But again, tomorrow, region championship for the regular season for both boys and girls for Glenwood. Tied for third is, and this is where it was tough, because Pacelli lost to Central, but Harris County lost to Hardaway. Pacelli beat Hardaway. Hardaway beat Harris County, and it's just a major mix-up, and it was hard. But the reason why I'll start with number one, Hardaway's number one, is because I think they got the best path to win a state championship, okay? They're undefeated in the region. They have not lost to a 2A school at all this year, and I don't expect them to. And I think they have every bit the team to win a championship. That's why they're number one. But Pacelli's not number one because they just lost to Harris County. But more than that, they're not the number one team in their classification. That's Athens Christian, who is really good. It's going to be tough for Pacelli to go back-to-back. I think they can do it under Coach Bryant Thomas, but I think they have a little bit tougher way of winning it than Hardaway does. And I know they beat Hardaway on that buzzer beater, but Hardaway beat Harris County pretty convincingly. Pacelli lost at Harris County. You really could flip a coin. All these teams could really be number one. Central, the reason I don't have them there because they moved down. They're not going to win their region. They're going to go second in their region. Hardaway's going to win their region. I know Hardaway plays in a tougher region. Central plays in a tougher region. You could make a case, Richard, for all four of those teams being ranked number one. So I don't really feel like there's a right or wrong. But I'm going to go this way because I think Hardaway has the best chance. Central's had a lot of great wins. And then Pacelli and Harris County are tied for third. I know Harris County beat them, but Pacelli also beat Hardaway. It was also at Harris County. I'm going to keep it this way for right now. But you can make a case for all these teams being number one.
Thrift, I'm going to have to agree with you putting Hardaway number one because they are playing the best basketball right now. Not only do they have the easiest path to the state championship in 2A, they are undefeated in region play. And if they rematched against Pacelli today, I think that this is a different Hardaway team. This Hardaway team can win that game because that's how good Hardaway is playing right now. And it is the shocking thing is their sophomore, Rihanna Boynton, is their leading scorer. You would think it was Michaela Johnson or A.K. Shelton. I know I talked to Coach Ellison in the Muskogee County Coaches Show. The injury to Janiah Hardy is huge, but she's still relying on Rihanna Boynton and Michaela Johnson and A.K. Shelton. That has been your three players that have really been dominant. And I tell you, I can't wait to get a Hardaway game. I know we haven't been to Hardaway High School yet to live stream a game on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, but people just need to know how good this Hardaway team is. They took care of business against Sumter County in Americus. At the time, that was the second best team in the region. And they're going to get to play Sumter County again. They're going to get to play Carver. Of course, they're playing Spencer tomorrow. So I think this Hardaway team is going to be rolling, and they're going to end up having a favorable seed in the playoffs. Central, yeah, I agree with them being at number 2 because they lost to Auburn. I mean, that was a tough loss, and they're not even going to win their area unless they get hot in the area tournament. And then, of course, Harris County, Pacelli. Harris County beat Pacelli, but Pacelli beat Hardaway, and Hardaway beat Harris County. So what do you do here? And I think that's the right decision to go ahead and have Harris County and Pacelli tied because they played at Harris County. If that game was at Pacelli, like it was last year, I think Pacelli wins that game.
Yeah, it's just so hard. It's tough. But this is how our rankings played out this week. It could be a whole different one for next week. All right, let's move on to the boys. By the way, it's 3rd and goal for those that are watching Bills and Chiefs. I have not got to watch 1 second of this incredible game, Richard.
Thrift, I got that game on pause. So,
Richard, you're going to go back and watch it. Well, don't look at social media then, Richard. How about that? Let's move on to the boys. Number 10, the Columbus Blue Devils. They lost to they played Hardaway this past week. I said they lost to, but I did not get confirmation if they lost that game. Richard, did you get confirmation on that Columbus Hardaway boys basketball game this past Saturday?
I want to say that Columbus did defeat Hardaway.
All right, and looking right now, Columbus did beat Hardaway. They go to 9-11, 5-3 in the region. How about that, Richard?
It looks like Columbus is going to make the playoffs.
30-31. How about Coach Terrence Hill in his first season going to take the Blue Devils back to the playoffs?
He's a winner not only at the player level. He won a state championship with Jordan in 2007. He is starting to become the most up-and-coming rising coach in Muskogee County. And he could get Columbus to back-to-back playoff berths. That's incredible. For a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 25 years, they end up getting to the playoffs last year. And there was a lot of mysteries with this team. Carl Ivy Sr. goes to Carl Ivy Jr.'s staff at Brookstone. They lose one of their best players, Savon Kelly. We saw what a difference maker he was at Brookstone. Yep. And I love J.J. Johnson. He is such an incredible player. Smith Carver coming off the bench. You have the guard play of Fuqua and Marcus and Hill. Lee, Demarion Lee was the other guard. I'm just excited about Columbus basketball. And they do play Sumter County on Monday. That's going to be a big game.
Yeah, it is. And by the way, Sumter County, who was number 2, they're now down, Richard. So they are not number 2. Number 2 is actually Spencer. And then number 1 is the Carver Tigers. Number 3, the Columbus Blue Devils. How about that, Richard? The Columbus Blue Devils.
Columbus right now is in 3rd place.
Unbelievable job. And I'm super excited. We're going to get Columbus and Shaw on this weekend. So looking forward to that. I'm going to add that to the schedule here. I forgot to put that up there. All right, let's move on. Number 9 in our rankings is Smith Station Panthers. They're going to be taking on Central on Thursday. We will be there for that. Looking forward to seeing Coach Ingersoll's boys play. Number 8, the Calvary Christian Knights. Great win over Ware County last week. And then because of having few players sick and just being on the road, they lost to a really good Brookstone team and a really good Glenwood team. So they got Pacelli on Tuesday, and then they got to finish out strong to keep their pace and being a higher seed in the GIAA. Number 7, Brookstone Cougars. Big win for Coach Carl Avi. They needed it. They had lost 2 in a row. They needed this confidence boost, so they got a good win. And number 6, Russell County. They are 19-4 and ranked number 1 in their region. So how about the Russell County Warriors? So 6 Russell County, 7 Brookstone, 8 Calvary, 9 Smith Station. And again, Brookstone and Calvary, they've got a lot of region play games ahead of them as well.
Yeah, we're not 100% sure on that Russell County Pike Road game that took place on Saturday. Russell County does play Park Crossing on Monday, and then they play Northside on Tuesday. So we'll get to see this Russell County team and how good they are. Brookstone, they actually weathered the storm. They were up by 16 against Calvary. You got to give Calvary credit coming back, forcing that game to overtime. And then Dylan Terry, even though he wasn't the Alex Quinney All-State Good Hands player of the game, it was co-players, Bo Christopher and Chapman Dykes. But Dylan Terry was the hero in that game. With the steal and the putback, when Savon Kelly fouled out, I thought that Calvary had a mismatch. And they were just going to drive either Liam Holcutt or Dylan Hostin in the lane and try to get some easy buckets. But, Brookstone was able to get a big win. That was a huge win for the Brookstone Cougars, which I'm kind of curious to see what the GIAA rankings look like for this week. There's a possible chance that Brookstone, who was 10, could overtake Calvary, who was number 8. I mean, they might be 8 and 9, and I'm not sure who's going to be ahead of who because they split the season series against each other.
Yeah, exactly right. Number 5, Spencer, the Greenways, number 2 in the region. Got a big one this Friday at Spencer. Carver and Spencer, prime time on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. We'll be there, excited for it. Number 4, Glenwood. How about the Gators? 20-5. They've been unbelievable. Have not lost a January game, and they take on Lee Scott tomorrow at Lee Scott for the region championship for the regular season. So Glenwood 5, Spencer number 4. And then top 3 say the same, Central, Carver, and Pacelli. Pacelli continues their winning streak now to 29 games in a row, 17-0 on the season. Carver has been unbelievable, and Central has been the best team in our area with the best overall strength of record. They have been great as well.
We have not seen Central since they played Shaw to start the season, and obviously this is a different team. But when you add a Jaden's Ford to an already loaded team with Jacoby Hill and Bryce Dawson, and you also got the shooting of Andrew Alford. This Central team can win a state championship. There's no question. They came close. They went to the Final Four last year. Hoover's still undefeated. They are number 1 in 7A. I know that they played them in the state championship a couple of years ago when Bryce Dawson had that 40-point game. That was just a monstrous game. And we're finally going to get to see Central again on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. But this Central team that we're going to see against Smith Station on Thursday, this is going to be the Central team that we're going to see in the area tournament that is going to make a run in the playoffs. Carver Pacelli, I wish these two schools would just face each other because they're very similar. Both have a very good, easy path to win a state championship. I know Carver has a couple of losses, and Pacelli is undefeated. Well, I mean, Carver played Sandy Creek, and they also lost to a very good, I want to say New Manchester. I know they beat Etowah, which was a huge win for him in the Lemon Street Classic. And Pacelli has had some tough opponents as well. But Pacelli is just, history's on the line. They got a 28-game win streak, and they end up facing Calvary on Tuesday. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I can't wait for that either. So it's going to be a lot of fun seeing how all these games face off. And then we got region tournaments and everything else coming up in the month of February. So we're going to be pushing on a lot of basketball here these next couple of weeks. So stay tuned, be ready, and super excited about this, Richard. Should be a lot of fun on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. So we can't wait to be a part of it all. Here are our rankings. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show where we're going to be at this week. You're watching right now the Georgia Alabama Sports Live show that is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. Get ready to smile. We'll be right back after this.
Even though I'm away at college, Kinetic Credit Union is still the best way for me to stay connected here and at home. With the Kinetic mobile app, I have control of my accounts wherever I go. I can easily transfer money between internal and external accounts, get money faster by setting up recurring transfers, and I can find the nearest ATM or branch right from my phone. Plus, I can add my Kinetic cards to my phone's digital wallet and enjoy quick, secure, contactless payments. By the way, Mom, I need some more money.
Kinetic Credit Union, the energy for your dreams.
Richard, I need some more money.
Yeah, oh yeah. I love that commercial. Every time I see that commercial, I'm thinking, yeah, I need some more money. More money in my bank account.
Back up, Richard. Thank you to CNAW and Colin Scroggins. Go to CNAW2news.com. We are the exclusive sports provider. Also follow them on Facebook. They had an incredible week last week with everything that happened around snow and the wrecks, and it was just an incredible week for Colin Scroggins, a great week for us, and we appreciate being the exclusive sports provider of CNAW2 News and CNAW2news.com with Colin Scroggins. Richard, throw up the schedule real quick for this week so we can get out of here. As we got tomorrow, CVC basketball against State State, Hardaway at Spencer. We also got dual meet wrestling. We got Pacelli at Calvary and Russell County Northside. Richard will be there for that. I will be this Tuesday at Pacelli at Calvary, and then we got wrestling at Harris County. On Wednesday, we got the Gas Live Show, Pacelli Coach Show, Muskogee County School District Show, Kudzu Show, and Calvary Show. So a lot of shows happening on Wednesday, and we will be live from Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC Wednesday night. We're looking forward to that. The 30th, we got Marion Institute Thursday at CVCC and Central at Smith Station. So can't wait to see Central and Smith Station face off against each other. That's going to be a big rivalry. Richard will be there for that one. Then the 31st, Westwood at Calvary, Carver at Spencer are the games that we're going to be doing. And then on Saturday, that is not on here, February the 1st, we got several things that we're going to be doing. We got high school baseball media day for Harris County. We also are going to be doing, Richard, high school baseball media day, Harris County Northside basketball, and then we got Hardaway at Carver basketball and Shaw at Columbus. So I will be at Hardaway at Carver. You will be at Shaw at Columbus. It should be a lot of fun, and can't wait to be able to go and do these games, Richard. And a lot of games are going to be having implications on the region matchup, and region play doesn't start till February. The region tournament doesn't start till February the 11th, Muskogee County. We're going to get that. The 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th are going to be the days for them. The semifinals and the championship are the 5th, 14th, and 15th. So looking forward to getting those games, Richard. We also got the region tournament for Brookstone that week. And then next week, we have Glenwood area tournament. So we're going to have a lot of area and region tournaments we're going to be getting. But for this week, a lot of basketball, wrestling, and a couple of shows on Wednesday night. Looking forward to doing those.
Yeah, another successful week on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Looking forward to being a part of it all, and just looking forward to these upcoming events that we have going on.
All right, Richard, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in. Like us, follow up, subscribe. We'll have a more in-depth show on Wednesday talking about these conference championships, some NBA, some college basketball with unsolicited hot take, update on what's happening around the area in basketball, give you the standing updates, Richard. I think really people love that, us giving out standings. So we're going to try to do that every single week on Wednesday, give you up-to-date standings, and we'll talk about it on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live show. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. We'll see you next time. Good night, everyone. Thank y'all for tuning in on Media Day and the show, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching the Georgia Alabama Sports Live show presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet and GMC. You're ready to smile.